Okay, first things, as always, first, real name and real photo to comment on this video. This video is a response to something that was taken from one of my videos, and that was about my talking about being functional in a language, and I use shoelaces as a lexicon that would be known only by those people who are actually very high functioning in a language, because that means they have to actually exist in the milieu. Now, a few people, I know the response video that was made about that was they didn't understand what I was doing. Everyone but two people didn't understand what was going on. It's an arbitrary choice. It's not that that is the test. And of course, everybody was trying to come in with exceptions to prove me wrong, because it's very popular to try to prove me wrong. But now I understand that this whole line of thought has driven people to get Kaufman's little paid service to start using some of my ideas, because none of the people here know a thing about being functional in a language. So what's going on here? Well, you can't obviously credit sources, can you? This would be me, because all you guys have been on here for years and you haven't even dealt with it. Let's say, for example, on the functional thing is part of being able to operate within as a society. And since that's what and once again, nobody knows about field linguistics, and I'm not here to give you free courses. You can take courses on field linguistics. You could actually do research on the subject. I'm not the one holding you back. Your limitations are your own limitations. Your ignorance is your own ignorance. I'm pointing the way for you to remove that ignorance. Now, if you want to pay me for lessons, I'm going to start doing that. I'm going to start being just like all these other people, Moses and Glossica and Luca and Steve, all the people. I'm going to do the same thing, except my stuff will be a higher level because I have gone further than any of them. The point being here that functional is exactly what field linguists do and strive for. And it's funny because the interpreters were the only ones, translators were the only ones who agreed with the fact that yes, that shoelaces as an arbitrary word showed that the person would have to know about the language quite a bit. It's an outcome of being what you would call fluent. See, the problem is none of you guys want to define fluency, but from the field linguistics point of view, define functional. You have to be functional, otherwise you'd be labeled a retard. Yeah, you'd be a retard if you could not operate with the change in the country, if you did not know the counting system, if you couldn't get a bus ticket, you'd be a retard. You need people to help you at all facets of life, right? So what's another thing? That another testing, because you clearly the majority of people didn't understand what I was saying, which is nothing new. This is I'm above the pundit level. This requires some cognitive skills, and that would be, okay, describe to me how you would change a light bulb, or that you need to change a light bulb. Light bulb is something in modern society that's pretty common, so that's something that you need to know, and a lot of people won't know what that means either, because the hobbyists, the people who've been skewing themselves. I can read Tolstoy, Kaufman, but I may not understand the news. You may not understand the news, you probably don't understand anything that you have to do in daily life then. So, you know, ต้องเปลี่ยนรถไฟที่ห้องน้ำ for example, in Thai, those of you that speak Thai, you'll know what I just said. That is something that's necessary to live in this in this milieu. So those sorts of processes are very important. I've said many before, and I notice that people are trying to latch onto that and basically steal the fact that I'm the one who came up with it. I'm not the one who came up with it. Natural life came up with it, but I'm the one proponent of it. Telling you that, as I said before, I'm the Sam Harris shooting at these faith-based guys. These faith-based learning ideas don't allow you to become functional. And the point is, I've said many times before, I don't care about being a hobbyist. I don't care about being a dilettante. I care about what's going to make you functional in a language that you have to actually live in. So everyone else who doesn't have to do that is a hobbyist. They won't acquire this stuff. That's why And also, everyone's trying to say you're using a A1, A1, A2, B1, B2, C1, C2. I'm not. The framework I'm considering is the FSI DLI levels 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. And yeah, 5 is a native speaker who's highly educated and knows the language. That would be like me with English. And a 4 is a incredibly intelligent, fluent, considered native speaker. A 3 is very strong, and a 2 plus is what you guys would consider extremely fluent. Because of what I'm seeing from people, they're considering 1 plus fluent on the YouTube crowd. They just don't know. They never take those tests to see how you do. All right. The point is that the TESOL guys, especially that one guy, is so utterly confused because they want to categorize things within a TESOL framework, and they're very theoretically driven because that's the only way they can maintain that field. And in their parlance, the idea of situational language usage is what functional is. And he's trying to say, I have created neologism. I'm not creating neologism. You just don't know about linguistics. You just don't know about FSI, DLI, or field linguistics. Anyone who works for an airline, for example, they may know only certain. They can only probably speak within a certain range of things, but those things are very functional. And for example, that's another good one, seatbelt. You know, attach. How many of you in your L2 know how to say, put on your safety belt, your seat belt, and attach it, and then pull it tight? That is something that any native speaker can do. Before they're 10 years old, they'll know how to do that. Unless they live in the third world with no cars or no airplanes or yeah. So other than that, anyone in the first world country in their L1 will know how to do that. But and trying to say, well, that thing, you think that they're going to, oh, by the way, I want to cover that. The coping mechanisms are not fluency. Coping mechanisms are below that. Coping mechanisms are a step below that. That's one of the tests, actually, when you test people for being completely functional or being actually highly fluent in a language, is the fact that they use the precise words. And it's the same thing. If you want to, if you're a surgeon operating and you don't know the instrument's name, are you going to say, that thing, that pointy thing there, give that to me, and the nurse doesn't know what it is either? Or a mechanic, for that matter. All those things are functionally surviving in your environment. Now there's a load of that. And now, of course, the naysayers, the detractors, are going to come back. Well, I don't need to know that. Well, anybody who's in the environment of an L1 will have learned all these things before they start trying to read Tolstoy. That's the whole point. You guys have skewed your ideas of what learning a language is, because you think you can talk down this one little narrow angle because that's what you spent your time on. That tangent doesn't mean you're fluent, because you've missed this entire layer that's underlying any native speaker. Any native speaker that's talking about Sartre, for example, in French, has learned about using the bathroom, has learned about, the billet, about going on any trip, about how to make reservations on the phone, and saying that they got the name misspelled, and that we have too many delices and stuff like that, and many things. Those are all done beforehand. That's all part of what you're going to know before you attempt to do Sartre. So once again, you got these people out here who are doing this hobby stuff, and also, again, to say, and they're taking 2.5 to 3 years before they can speak. It doesn't happen. I may talk about a group of people who learn a language extremely fast and become high functioning in the language very quickly. I haven't decided whether I want to do that or not, because a lot of the things I want to make the isolating language thing, talk about isolating languages versus inflectional languages soon. And the point here is that everyone has gotten off on the shoelaces thing. Of course, they want to focus on the word. So unlike Moses, this actually is a case of confusing the finger for the moon, okay, all that heavenly glory. This is actually what Bruce meant. when he said it, not what he was trying to interpret it to say. The point is that to be functional is the only thing that counts. If you don't want to be considered retarded, damaged, a moron, an idiot in the culture, you'll have to become functional. If you don't know how to do a process like, let's say, how to build a fire. How many of you know how to tell someone to build a fire, or how do you go through the steps of building a fire? Or for that matter, you say, well, I can't see. All these naysayers miss the point as usual. Okay, how about how do you unlock a car door? Tell me the steps involved in that. Specific steps, not just I open the door. You know that doesn't cut it in the language. Tell me in the L2, L3, and L4 the exact steps of opening a car door with the car key, okay, and not the house key. So these, once again, I've given out a lot of things here, and I noticed that the people are trying to make, like I said before, make little vignettes of situational scenarios, so that they'll become functional. They'll have little functional things in languages, other languages now. That's owed to me, you bastards. Okay, if it weren't for me and the reactions to me, the Sam Harris of the YouTube language linguophiles, you would never have got there, because you didn't do it before I was here, and you guys have been babbling on a lot of forums for a long time, so credit where credit's due. And the other factor is I'm not holding any of you back from learning about field linguistics. I looked through my other videos. I've shown exact books to read and exact things to do, especially on the how your mind lies to you videos. I talked about that. I'll be talking about some more stuff in the future about actually the process to learn. But anyway, that is a short response to the Fluent in Czech Anthony's video that he put up, which misinterpreted what I said, and his coping mechanisms are not what functional fluency is considered to be. In FSI, DLI, or field linguistics, or missionary work for that example, because all people have to be, or medical field, all this stuff. Anybody has to be, or flying an airplane, that's even better, okay? Flying an airplane. Oh, yeah, the use of attitude, yaw, pitch, roll, all that stuff is different, right? To know those things in the exact language, you just can't say, it doesn't work. Anyway, so I'm ready to once again take the flack for being the trailblazer and eliminating the misconceptions, myths, legends, and just general stupidity of the linguophiles. And see you soon. As I said in the other one, both gun my. Alright? Okay.